they managed, through these slurs and these smears, like they're doing now to Israel, they managed to prevent the public speaking out. They managed to demoralise the public. They managed to paralyse them with fear.
Tommy Robinson raises new concerns about Keir Starmer's unaddressed actions. Tommy Robinson has always been a polarizing figure. Some see him as outspoken, others see him as controversial, but this time, what he said wasn't about stirring conflict. It was about drawing attention to something he believes the country wasn't supposed to focus on. And the moment he stepped in front of that camera, his tone was different. Calmer. More controlled. Almost as if he knew this would cause a ripple far beyond his usual audience. He paused, looked straight into the lens, and said something that instantly caught attention. There are things people deserve to hear. Things that were never explained properly. That one line lit up the internet. Comments poured in within minutes. People asking, what did Starmer avoid addressing? Why now? Why release this at this moment? And that's where the story gets complicated. According to Robinson, the issue wasn't just a policy disagreement or a political clash. He framed it as a moment where the public was kept in the dark on decisions that shaped narratives, shifted priorities, and influenced discussions without full clarity. Now, to be clear, he didn't accuse Starmer of anything unlawful. He didn't make claims that cross YouTube's boundaries. But he did raise questions about transparency, especially during key moments when the public expected direct, open explanation. He highlighted decisions, statements, and incidents that, in his view, never received the kind of thorough public breakdown that a modern democracy expects. And here's what made the reaction even stronger. It came right when political fatigue was setting in. Right when people felt that every headline looked the same. Right when the trust gap between politicians and everyday citizens felt wider than ever. So when Robinson dropped those hints, the public didn't ignore it. They leaned in. Across social media, you could see the reactions forming in real time. One comment read, "Finally someone is saying what we've all been wondering. Why were those details never addressed properly?" Another person wrote, "If this is true, the public deserves answers. No matter who is in power." Even journalists chimed in carefully, cautiously noting that political figures often leave certain explanations vague, especially when the topic is sensitive or potentially unpopular. One political writer posted, "We need clarity from every side. The public is exhausted by half-answers." That's when the conversation shifted from Robinson said something to why doesn't the government respond? Because up to this point, there has been silence. Robinson then went deeper, laying out timelines, referencing previous statements, and pointing toward moments he believes lacked proper follow-through. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't attacking. He was building a case piece by piece that something deserved more explanation. Whether people agree with Robinson or not, one thing is certain. His broadcast forced the conversation back onto accountability. He emphasized that leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about explaining them. Not only to Parliament, not only to journalists, but to the public. And that struck a nerve. Because for months, even years, people have complained that leadership has become more polished, more rehearsed, more distant, and less transparent. Robinson tapped directly into that frustration. After his broadcast, political analysts were quick to respond. One former advisor said to a local outlet, "When someone highlights gaps in communication, it shouldn't be dismissed. Even political opposites can raise valid questions." Another analyst commented, "Robinson isn't the first to point out missing clarity, but he might be the loudest voice to do it at exactly the right moment." And with elections creeping closer, timing is everything. What makes this moment even more important is not the personality behind the microphone, but the message itself. People are tired. They want honesty. They want answers in plain language, not rehearsed fragments designed to avoid controversy. Robinson's concerns, whether you love him or can't stand him, tapped into something real. A growing belief that political communication has become too curated, too cautious, too carefully shaped behind closed doors. He argued that if leaders want trust, they need to step up and address the topics people are actually asking about, not just the topics that poll well. And the response online proves how deeply that sentiment runs. Now the big question becomes, what happens next? Does Starmer respond directly? Does his team address the concerns? Do they give the detailed explanations Robinson insists were missing? Or do they stay quiet and hope the conversation fades? Because here's the truth: once public curiosity is lit, silence becomes its own kind of answer. And right now, people aren't content with silence. They want clarity. They want accountability. They want leaders, all leaders, to speak plainly. And so, as the debate grows louder, one thing is becoming clear. This moment isn't really about Tommy Robinson. It isn't even fully about Keir Starmer. It's about the public's demand for transparency in a time where information feels filtered, polished, and withheld. Robinson simply said the part people were already thinking. And the bigger question, the one no one wants to say out loud, is this. If this is just the surface, what else hasn't been explained? And how much deeper does the conversation go? Because today was just a spark. The real storm might be what comes next.